Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, hi, I'm FEARSONA. You can call me Sona, and I'm your friendly neighborhood true crime VTuber, here to give you full body chills. And today we have a very difficult case, a case that left a lasting mark on the UK and honestly an international community, because the news definitely spread about this case. But before we get to the case, I do have a couple of things that I wanted to say and a couple of things that I have to do. First of all, let's spin the wheel, because unfortunately one of the winners of my Halloween giveaway did not contact me back. They didn't respond to my email, multiple emails. I was trying to, contact them. It's a shame, too bad, because I really wanted to, I wanted them to get the mouse pad, the desk mat, but that means I can choose another winner. So you guys, if you applied, if you entered my giveaway, which was last week, it was on Saturday, if you entered my giveaway, well, you might get a chance to win the desk mat, and I'll be able to ship it this week. Okay, spin that wheel. Look at that. Wait, let me pull it up. Oh, wait. Oh no! Hold up. I have to move myself a little bit. Oh no! Okay, this is too... Wait, okay. Give me a moment. I just have to make it smaller. Alright, smaller wheel. Look at that. We have so many. I think it's like 68 people. 68! Holy shit! Let me see. Let me see if I can I spin the wheel? I think I have to just click on it. Okay, are you guys ready? Spin the wheel for the last winner. Let's go. Gun Puppy! Gun Puppy, congratulations! Hey! So many people, and Gun Puppy is getting the desk mat. This is amazing. Thank you so much for entering the raffle, entering the giveaway. So I'm gonna be sending the last desk mat, the Halloween desk mat to Gun Puppy. Hey! Congrats! Congrats, Gun Puppy! Yay! Nice. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that finally. So, Gun Puppy, I'm gonna be contacting you about, Gun Puppy is also my Patreon member, so I might actually, I'm gonna contact you about the winning, the prize. Okay. That is it for the spin wheel. Thank you so much. This was a very short segment. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys and ask you a couple of questions. Well, I have a couple of things to show you guys and ask you a couple of questions because it blew my mind. And just wanted to, what do you guys think this is? It's not, just a hint, this is not the next Godzilla movie monster. That's not Godzilla, that's not a kaiju, that's not, it's not like the next alien predator or the next sci-fi movie poster, but it is the face of an ant under a microscope. Yeah, it is an ant. And then this one, that's not an ancient artifact that was recently discovered off the shores of, I don't know, the Caribbean. No, this is salt. Those are grains of salt. What the fuck? That's not, yeah, it's salt. Wait, how is that possible? The next one, what is that? That's not part of the Grand Canyon. That is human skin punctured by a needle. It's crazy. This is how human skin looks like. Oh my god. Also, it kind of looks like, I don't want to say that, but it looks like something. But it is human skin. Hey. And then the next one, that's not the next alien. This is a tapeworm. That's the head of a tapeworm under a microscope. Gross. And then the last one. Can you guys tell me where this picture is from? So it's a crowd, obviously, clearly. It's a crowd. They're lining up for, on the side of the road or side of the street for a parade. It's apparently a crowd in, I believe this was in Dublin, and those people are lining up for a Halloween parade that was fake because it never happened. Dude, someone tricked these people. Let me just like make it smaller. Someone duped people of Dublin to line up for a Halloween parade on October 31st, 2024. This just happened. And it never happened. The website was like AI generated. There were some announcements for like TikTok or something, and people just went to the streets, and it just never happened. Like the parade was not happening at all. Okay. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say for like weird announcements. But yeah, congratulations, Gun Puppy. Congrats again. And now we can move on to the case. And okay, so guys, I gotta tell you that this case was difficult. It was definitely difficult for me to to research. It's gonna be difficult for me to talk about. It's a very graphic case, so if you aren't really prepared for the kind of graphic descriptions and violence that's gonna, be featured in this case, I suggest that you don't listen to today's video. I will have to stop. I will have to pause a couple of times, and I'm gonna say this. After today's stream, I will be taking just, like 1 or 2 days off, probably 2. But next week, there won't be any true crime case, because after this week and after this case, I will have to take a break from true crime for like a week or something. I will need a break. And I think next week I'm just gonna do some cryptid files, something, something more fun, maybe conspiracy theories or something like that. No true crime next week. That's how bad, that's how heavy this case is. To the point where, how in another one of my streams, I mentioned like, oh, I'm worried that I'm getting kind of desensitized because of how the sheer amount of cases that I look at every day, and the amount of cases that I cover every month, every week, that I'm worried I'm getting desensitized. I'm not worried about that anymore, because this case, I didn't even see any pictures. There weren't any like really photos of the crime scene, but just from reading, just from doing my research and reading articles and reading sources, no, I couldn't. So yeah, today's case is the heartbreaking story of James Bulger. It was a seemingly ordinary day in Bootle, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is a suburb of Liverpool in England, on February 12th, 1993. So this case is from 1993. The New Strand shopping center was bustling with the sounds of shoppers, children's laughter, just everyday conversations, everyday sounds. People are just hanging out at the mall. But among these people, amidst the typical rush of the crowd, a surveillance camera captured an image that would later haunt the entire nation. In this now infamous footage, 2 young boys, John Venables and Robert Thompson, both just 10 years old, are seen leading a toddler by the hand. This is the picture from that infamous CCTV footage. So both of them, one of them, I believe it was the Venables boy, so John Venables, is holding a toddler's hand. Robert Thompson is walking kind of ahead of them. He's walking right here. This is John. This is the toddler. And they are just walking away. The toddler, who was 2 years old, and his name was James Bulger, or Jamie. At first glance, it's an image that might have appeared innocent, completely innocent. Some passersby, busy and caught up in their own day, assumed that the boys were his older brothers or guardians. They were not. Having skipped school that day, Venables and Thompson wandered through the mall, looking for trouble from the very beginning. They snatched random items from stores, They started tossing them, the stolen goods down escalators as if this was some type of entertainment for them. Like the petty theft was just the only way that they could entertain themselves. But these reckless games soon weren't enough. Something changed as they moved toward the crowded shopping center. And what began as a day of small misdeeds escalated into a truly horrifying plot. As John and Robert hovered near the kiosk, at the mall, a new opportunity caught their attention. There was a small boy, James, and he was standing at the entrance of a butcher's shop because his mom was inside the butcher shop. So Denise, his mom, Denise Bulger, she was just a few feet away. She was focused on placing her order at the butcher shop. The two boys exchanged a glance, and actually there is a picture. I'm gonna show you guys that picture later on, but there is a picture which is kind of horrible. But they are exchanging glances, and in that moment their intention shifted. They kind of noticed Jamie, and they noticed that his mom is very busy. She's not paying attention. So they approached Jamie, who was too young, because he's just 2. He was too young to understand or sense any danger. And this is the video. John took the boy's hand, leading him away from the safety of his mother's side. And they're just slowly walking away. Tragically, James Bulger became their target. The 3 of them walked out of the shopping center at precisely 3:42 p.m., which was captured in the surveillance footage. They were unnoticed by any adults or authority at the mall. Shoppers passing by, later recounting seeing the 3, the 3 young boys, 2 older boys with a little child between them, and at times Jamie would break free, his little feet, trying to carry him away from the boys or ahead, only for John and Robert to, catch up to him and coax him with soft calls of, well, people heard them saying, "Come on, baby." They were trying to get him back to follow them. Wait, let me just do one thing, because it's, yeah, my slides are kind of weird. So they are just coaxing them back, right? Like with a soft voice, like, come on, boy, come on, baby. Like, don't go, don't walk away from us. Come with us. To most of the people around, this seemed completely harmless, completely innocent, like brothers guiding a younger sibling. So people were just like kind of chuckling. They were just like, oh yeah, like the little boy, the little toddler is not listening to his older brothers, or one of them might be his older brother or something. So like, oh, they're struggling, it's okay, like the boy, they are with him, it's fine, they are just kids. But those 3 kids walked 2.5 miles. So those 2 boys led James through the busy streets of Liverpool and ultimately to the railway, to kind of like an abandoned or unattended train embankment, so like the train tracks. Along the way, they were seen by as many as 38 people. It's 2.5 miles, and they were seen by as many as 38 people. They were noticed by as many as 38 people, and witnesses later described seeing James looking distressed at times. He was much smaller compared to the 2 older boys. Some people even recounted moments where the boys were rough with James. They were pushing him, shoving him, even striking him. But time and time again, when questioned by some concerned onlookers, John and Robert would spin a quick lie. They would say, "Oh, he's our little brother," or, "Oh, you know what? He's lost and we are taking him to the police station. Because he's so young, he's lost, and we just found him, so we're gonna take him to the police." And because they were kids, people around, they didn't really think that it was suspicious. They were just like, oh, okay, like that's their little brother, or, oh, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be okay. Wait, let me, because I have like something turned on, which is weird. It's showing on my stream. Okay. So they are, you know, they are kind of like spinning a lie. They were just lying to everyone, saying like, oh, giving excuses. Oh, like, it's okay. This is just our little brother. Like, he's not in danger. And so, you know, those brief moments when someone would stop them and ask, like some adult would stop them and ask them if they are okay, if everything's okay here, those brief moments of intervention, those tiny chances to save Jamie slipped by. No one imagined that 2 children could carry out what they did, and no one imagined that it would soon become a real tragedy. Inside the butcher's shop, so we're back to Denise. Denise turns around to speak to Jamie, you know, to call him over, to check on him, only to feel her heart sink. He was gone. So she starts panicking. She starts searching for him, frantically, running around the mall. Her eyes like darting across the shop, the floor, everywhere, beyond. She started asking around those nearby if they had seen her son. They had seen like a 2-year-old toddler. Have they seen him? But no one had at the time. Everyone was too busy. It didn't take long for her worry to escalate into full-blown panic and distress. Denise found a member of the mall security and described James in vivid detail. She said that her toddler is wearing his tiny coat and his face is so innocent. He's just a little boy. His hair is like little, you know, short, blonde, his eyes big, innocent, just wide with curiosity because he was a very curious boy. The staff acted quickly, broadcasting an announcement over the mall's loudspeakers in hopes of, you know, drawing Jamie back or alerting someone who might have seen him. Shoppers paused, listened, but the time ticked by with no signs of Jamie. By 4:15 p.m., Denise's worst fears became reality. Her son was nowhere to be found, and the realization that this was more than just a temporary separation set in. Jamie was reported missing to the local police station, marking the beginning of a search. As day progressed and turned into evening and then night, with no sign of James, Denise's world completely shattered. She couldn't have known that as she was hoping desperately for, you know, her son's safe return, maybe he just walked away. Maybe he's just lost, you know, he walked away. He's pretty small, so maybe no one really noticed him at the mall, you know, like, and he walked out of the mall and he's just like wandering the streets of Liverpool. So she was just hoping that, hey, it's still possible that he wandered out of the mall and he's just, you know, he was outside. Maybe someone picked him up and reported him to another police station. This is 1993, so, you know, like, they're not really communicating through the internet or, I don't know, like, it's not really, right, like, social media is not a thing. So no one is really announcing that, hey, on social media, like, hey, I found this boy, or like, oh, this boy was, you know, reported. I brought him to the police station in Liverpool, and, you know, if anyone knows him, please contact me, right? Like, this is not a thing. Yeah, obviously phones are a thing, but, you know, the police stations are not really communicating that quickly. So yeah, she was hoping. But Jamie was already far from home. He was already far from that mall. He was 2.5 miles away from that mall. He was being led by 2 boys who were on a path that would change their lives and would change Denise's life forever. So we left off at the mall. We left off at 3:42 p.m. as, you know, the surveillance camera captured Jamie being led out of the New Strands shopping mall by John Venables and Robert Thompson. What happened next is a timeline. This is the difficult part. It's a timeline filled with heart-wrenching details. And I'm sorry, but someone is doing construction in my building and I'm just hearing drilling. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but if you can, I apologize. If you cannot, that's great. Okay, so once outside of the bustling mall, James began to cry for his mom. You know, he wanted to... So what do we have to do here? I don't think there's anything anyone could have done. Well, no, they could have done something, but no one really noticed at the time. Okay, so... Okay, you guys hear no sounds. I hear drilling, which is great. Which is amazing for the ambience. It's great. Just give me more of that drilling. Thanks. Okay, so once outside of the mall, Jamie starts to cry. You know, he's crying for his mom. He wants to go back. But the older boys ignored his cries completely and instead kept guiding him towards a secluded area near a canal. The details of what happened next are so bad, so harrowing, and so horrible that honestly, even experienced detectives and court officials struggled with those details when they were like being filled in later on what happened. A lot of professionals, a lot of detectives, and you know, anyone involved in the case, they struggled to listen to this because it was so horrible. So I'm giving you a fair warning here. The next part is very difficult to listen to. It's difficult for me to talk about it. Okay, so they are at the canal, at this like canal's edge. And that is where the first true signs of the two boys, you know, cruelty really emerged. This is actually the edge of the canal. And this is where John and Robert dropped James and his small head, like they dropped him from a height. I'm not sure if they were, that was like they dropped him like they probably like pushed him down the stairs or something. His small head struck the ground, leaving him wailing in pain. A woman walking by noticed the distressed child, distressed Jamie on the ground, but tragically she just continued on without intervening. She thought it was just the kids, you know, playing rough or, you know, just pushing each other, and one of them fell over. But no, like he was literally dropped from a distance, from a height. You know, Jamie didn't understand. He was now injured, but he still didn't understand. He didn't really sense. He didn't understand that this was a dangerous situation, especially since the boys later, right after they dropped him, right after they injured him, they started like speaking to him softly again, and they were just kind of coaxing him again to follow them. And despite being hurt, the toddler simply obeyed them because he didn't really know anyone else. Like right at this point, John and Robert were the only ones that he quote unquote knew besides his mom. So he was just thinking, okay, I'm gonna follow them. He was innocent. He didn't know that he was in danger. By now, the wound on his forehead had begun to swell and bleed. John and Robert, likely trying to hide the evidence of their, you know, the escalating violence, actually pulled Jamie's hood over his head, you know, from his little coat. Even with the hood in place, some passersby could still see the injury on, you know, Jamie's small face. And one even noticed a tear on his cheek, because there were a couple of injuries on his face. But again, no one stepped in. So the three of them wandered through Liverpool, moving past shops, parking lots, and busy streets. Witnesses who later came forward offered conflicting images. Some said that Jamie was laughing, you know, Jamie was playing with them, possibly trying to keep up with the older boys, and he was fine. Other witnesses said that they saw him resisting. They saw him crying out for his mother, and he didn't want to be there, and he was trying to run away from the two boys. One person reported seeing Robert Thompson kick Jamie in the ribs when he tried to break away. But still no one intervened. No one, not one adult at this point. They just observed. To this day, many witnesses, many of those witnesses blame, or, well, many people blame witnesses for not reacting, even when they saw Jamie's injuries. As the hours crept by, the violence escalated even more. At one point, a woman saw Robert shaking and punching James, but instead of stepping out, because she was inside of the building, so she was looking at it through her window, but instead of stepping out of the building or calling for help, she just chose to draw her curtains, which basically closed off the scene from her view and her conscience. She was just like, I'm not gonna get involved. Just kids. Whatever. Then there was this one moment of hope. An elderly woman, seeing James crying and noticing his visible injuries because he was being injured in the face, she approaches the boys. When she asked what was wrong, John and Robert lied again, saying, "Oh, we just found him at the bottom of the hill." So the woman somewhat reassured, like she was somewhat reassured, but not entirely convinced by this sentence, right, by this lie. She told them to take James to Walton Lane police station, which was not too far away. She called after them as they were walking away. She called after them, but they didn't turn back. And then a second woman who had observed this interaction reassured her by saying, like, this is so weird. So the second woman, right, like the first elderly lady, she said like, oh, you know, this kid is injured. What happened? They tell her a lie. Oh, we just found him at the bottom of the hill and he was already injured. So she told them, okay, take him to the police station. If he's lost, take him to the police station. There's a police station right here, Walton Lane police station. And they are walking away. So she's calling after them because she's feeling like, okay, this is very suspicious. She chose to ignore. Yeah, like the previous lady, yeah. So this lady, this older lady, she kind of calls after them, but you know, she's still kind of suspicious, but they don't turn around and they just walk away. And then in the meantime, like as she's trying to maybe like follow them, a second woman who had observed the interaction reassured her by saying that she had heard James laughing earlier. So he's fine. He's probably okay. Like, he's okay. These boys are gonna take him to the police station. Don't worry about it. He was laughing just now, so they were probably playing. Both women would later regret their actions when they saw the evening news and realized the fate of the child they had just seen. So this wasn't the last chance for James to be saved. There was another moment of hope. Later, another woman noticed the boys and, you know, she was feeling uneasy and offered, you know, uneasy about two young boys leading this toddler somewhere or to the police station because they claimed that they are going to the police station. So she offered to take James to the police herself. She's just like, no, it's okay. I can take him. Like, you guys are small. You guys are also young boys. Let me take him. I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna take him to the police. You know what? But when she asked so she's like, she's full on, like, she stopped them, right? She stopped the three. And she grabbed James and she's just like, okay, no, I'm gonna take him to the police station. But the problem is that she had her own daughter, her own small child, and she asked like her neighbor, I guess, to watch her own daughter while she led James to the police station, right? But that neighbor woman refused. Citing, she said, oh no, I can't watch over your child. My dog, I'm walking my dog. My dog is, you know, very aggressive. Like, he doesn't like children. So I can't really watch my dog and your daughter. Which again, I don't understand why this lady didn't just take her daughter with her and take James and just lead him to the police station. Because she could have. I don't have any details on like how old the daughter was. Like, was she a baby and she really couldn't take her with her, or like it was just difficult to handle two children? But somehow, you know, she just couldn't, and then the neighbor didn't really help. So yeah. So unfortunately, again, they slipped away. This was another opportunity, so another opportunity for a rescue that slipped away. Robert and John continued their walk, stopping at 2 stores where shopkeepers noticed the toddler's distressed state. They noticed Jamie's injuries. But despite noticing the injuries and noticing how he was crying and he was not really acting like he wanted to be there, those shopkeepers allowed the boys to leave and ignored the situation again. During this time, they ran into the 3 boys ran into 2 older boys that they knew. And when asked who James was, John casually lied. He claimed that he was Robert's brother and that they were taking him home. So again, the 2 older boys, the teens that they met, they just walked away because they were like, oh, okay, that's your brother or whatever, go. As the evening turned darker, the 2 boys brought James to their final destination, which was an abandoned railway embankment. And it was 2.5 miles from the shopping mall. And take a look at this map. This is the map. This is the route that they took. Look how far it was. How many turns they took. How many people passed by them and barely anyone reacted. This is how far. And mind you, like when police retraced their steps, they noticed how many turns they took, as if they wanted to, like stay unnoticed, as if they wanted to confuse people, because sometimes they would just take this like turn into this one street, but then turn back to the previous road and keep going. Like, look at this. It's just like so many turns. Like right here, they go down this road, but then they turn back and then they just keep going. And again, they just kind of want to confuse people. It's horrible. So at the train tracks, they got to the train tracks, right? This is the embankment. This is the... Why do I have this slide so weird? Oh, okay. Sorry, I have to like make them bigger. So this is the embankment. And for a moment here, for a brief moment, they seem to hesitate. The two boys, Robert and John. They hesitated, as if, recognizing that their entire plan is kind of heading towards a very dark conclusion. But their hesitation soon turned to resolve. They turned away from the open path and back towards the privacy of the train tracks. Like they were going to exit, they were going to leave, right? They hesitated, like, should we do this? But then they were just like, you know what? Let's do it. We're here. We're gonna do what we came here for. So they turned back to the train tracks, disappearing into this like darker, secluded area with James in tow. And guys, the next part is just horrible. Okay, so between 5:45 and 6:30 p.m., the next unspeakable part happened. The final brutal moments of James Bulger's life were marked by cruelty beyond comprehension, carried out by 2 boys who just hours earlier were just wandering the aisles of a shopping mall. First, they had taken blue paint stolen earlier from the shopping mall, and they splashed it into James's left eye to kind of blind him. The toddler, already bruised and terrified, he endured further brutality as the boys kicked him and struck him with stones and bricks. But the horror didn't end there. I'm sorry, I have to like pause for a moment. Because the next part is so fucked up. So they, after like striking him several times with like stones, bricks, they stuffed batteries into James's mouth for no reason. Just because they just started stuffing batteries into down his throat. Batteries, yeah. Just batteries. And then came the final act of violence. One of the boys struck James over the head with a 22-pound iron bar, causing 10 fractures to his small head. The injuries James sustained were so severe that the investigators later counted 42 wounds across his body. And the forensic pathologist who examined James concluded that it was really impossible to determine which blow exactly had caused his death because of the extent of the trauma to his body. This makes me sick to my stomach. Believe me, me too. Jamie died that day. He was killed by two 10-year-old boys. He was just 2. He was a 2-year-old toddler, killed by other kids. So when the brutality ended, when Jamie was down on the ground, by the way, this is not over. Because the next part is even more fucked up. So Jamie's down on the ground. He's dead by this point. He's not responsive. And that's not over, right? He's dead. But John and Robert, his killers, showing a twisted attempt to cover their actions, they actually dragged Jamie's lifeless body across the train tracks. They likely hoped that the passing of a train would make it seem like a tragic accident. They wanted to cover their tracks. Then, without so much as a glance back to James, they just left the scene. And not long after that, a train did come and it severed Jamie's body in half. Yep. Yeah, no, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough that they beat him beyond recognition. It wasn't enough that they caused fractures to his skull and his body. It wasn't enough that there were 42 wounds on his body. It wasn't enough that they splashed paint into his eyes. He figured, you know what? We just have to make sure that the body is just, yeah, like it's on the train tracks. We have to also make sure that no one catches us. That this was just an accident. No one's gonna notice. Monsters, absolute monsters. I'm sorry, I have to pause because that's just horrible. That's just, I don't even, like, horrible, horrifying, brutal, like that doesn't even cover it. Just doesn't, I don't think any adjective covers how bad this situation was, like how terrible. Okay. So the next day, the police, driven by desperation and the sheer horror of the case, searched tirelessly for the missing toddler. They, followed their witness statements and people who, like, places, they went to places where people supposedly saw Jamie and the 2 boys. They scoured the canal, like, first they also had like divers down there to see if Jamie was maybe like he fell off the from the rails, from the edge, and maybe he drowned. So they were scouring the canal where John and Robert had been spotted, following up on any potential leads, but Jamie wasn't there. James's parents, Denise and Ralph Bulger, were plunged into a nightmare that no parent should ever experience. The breakthrough came when police examined CCTV footage from the shopping mall. What they saw made them question everything they knew about human nature. The grainy footage revealed two small boys, not much older than James himself, leading him out of the mall. And this is actually, if you look at this picture, this is actually the picture of John and Robert exchanging glances. Some people say that this is the moment they noticed Jamie. And they were conspiring in this picture. They were just looking at Jamie and they were talking about how they're gonna lead him away. Like, what's their next step? What they're gonna do with him. Okay. So the images of the young boys were released to the public, and soon the search for James gained nationwide attention. People across the UK held their breath, unable to reconcile the innocence of childhood with the violence that had been inflicted on James. Because they found him, you know, they found the body eventually. 2 days later. So they found him, right? Ralph Bulger, James's father, saw the footage, saw the CCTV footage, like many, felt a brief, like that's before they found Jamie's body. So basically, Ralph, you know, he saw this footage, the footage of two little boys kind of holding Jamie's hand and leading him through the mall, right? And Jamie's father, Ralph, he kind of felt a sense of relief. He told his wife, like, oh, look, like, he's with little boys. He's with other kids. He's gonna be okay, Denise. He's with two young kids. He's gonna be all right. You know, he thought that this was comforting, seeing that James was just with two other kids. There's no way he was in danger with them. They were probably taking him to the security guard or police station, or maybe they took him to their own parents, you know. There's no way that this is a dangerous situation, but it was. They didn't know that they were looking at two killers of their little boy. So yeah, the search came to a tragic conclusion 2 days later. 4 children playing by the railway tracks made the discovery. They actually thought, at first, when they saw what they saw, they thought that this was a doll. That Jamie's body, you know, dismembered by the train, was actually just a doll. They thought, like, oh, this doll just got on the tracks and it just got, like, cut up in two. But they realized that this was actually a body. Only 200 yards from the nearest police station. That's how close it was from any police station. And scattered across the area were items that contributed to the unimaginable violence that had taken place. There was this iron bar, there were stones and bricks. All of them had traces of blood, of Jamie's blood. There was nearby, there was the stolen tin of blue paint, which was splashed into Jamie's eyes to blind him. With these pieces of evidence, the police shifted their focus to finding the perpetrators, right? They knew the attackers were likely young. They couldn't tell from this CCTV footage, right? Like, if you look at the CCTV footage, you can't really tell because they are quite tall compared to other people around. like, you can't really tell. Let me just play it again. Sorry. Right, like, oh, if you look at John and like people passing by, like they are both quite tall. So police officers weren't really sure, investigators weren't sure if these boys were as young, or like, you know, they were young, or they were like older teenagers. They just couldn't really tell. They knew the attackers were just young, which, you know, like, it was a theory reinforced by witnesses, because they were saying like, oh, they were young boys leading this toddler somewhere. But how could they identify them? How could they find them? Investigators started by checking absentee lists from schools in the surrounding areas. And the net cast by this approach was wide because there was a lot of schools and a lot of kids at those schools and a lot of absent kids, but it did draw attention to various students. This is a weird plot twist, and like, I found it a little funny, but also like, what the fuck? Some parents came forward to report their own children. Way to go, moms and pops. Tell me you don't like your child without telling me you don't like your child. So you figured, well, I might as well just get them arrested to get rid of them. Honestly. Honestly, these people. But yes, some parents just literally came forward and they were like, oh, my kid was absent from school. My kid was skipped school that day. Take him. Ice him. Yeah, it was just like, what the fuck? Why? But yeah, the parents were just like, you know what? I don't want this kid anymore. He might be a killer, and he skipped school that day, or she skipped school that day. I think she might be involved. So whatever. But it was actually a single anonymous tip that steered the case towards the right people, the right suspects. The caller informed the police that John Venables and Robert Thompson, both 10 years old, had been absent from school on February 12th, the day James disappeared, and that there were signs implicating them. Venables, for instance, had blue paint on the sleeve of his jacket. That's why it was like, oh, I think it's these kids, because this one kid has blue paint on his jacket. And when police visited their homes, further evidence surfaced. Bloodstains were found on Robert Thompson's shoes, and blue paint was unmistakable on John Venables' jacket. Despite these damning clues, John and Robert were not the first suspects. Investigators had initially focused on older boys with known records of violence. Like, they actually saw, they had other young boys or teenage boys that they were kind of eyeing for this crime. And these boys actually had records. So they were just like, oh, okay, it's probably not the 10-year-olds. They might have been like, might have just come across the paint, or, somehow came across the scene, but were too scared. Like, they didn't commit this. Maybe it's the older boys, right? Assuming that also the figures in the CCTV footage were actually the older teens. But as this interrogation progressed, the truth came to light. They realized like, oh wait, it's actually them. The separate interviews revealed a chilling twist. The boys began to implicate each other. Over a series of several sessions, John Venables, initially overwhelmed and visibly distressed, broke down. He confessed. His confession was very brief, but definitely damning. He said, "I did kill him," and then continued, "What about his mom? Will you tell her I'm sorry?" You know what? Fuck that kid. Because I know that he says tell her that I'm sorry, but honestly, you might feel some sympathy for them right now, but in a minute you won't, at least for one of them. So Robert Thompson, the other boy, proved to be a harder shell to crack. Detective Sergeant Phil Roberts recalled Roberts' cold defiance, noting that the boy initially denied any involvement, but his downfall came when he unwittingly gave a detailed description of Jamie Bulger's clothing, which was a detail that he should not have known unless he had been present and he had been interacting with Jamie a lot. Throughout the investigation, Robert Thompson maintained this like strange composure, this eerie composure, and that earned him the media nickname, the boy who did not cry. Like, he did not cry even once. Like John Venables, he cried. He was distressed, but Robert just completely stone face. Nothing. So both of them were charged with the kidnapping, assault, and murder of James Bulger. The entire nation was in complete shock when this was revealed to the public. 10-year-old boys killed a toddler out of boredom. That's literally what they confessed. Like, oh, we were just hanging out at the mall and we were bored. Right? Like at the beginning, I told you, they were just like kind of hanging out. They were stealing stuff. They were doing those petty crimes and they were trying to entertain themselves because they were bored. And then they saw Jamie and they figured, you know what? This is gonna be interesting. This is gonna entertain us. Yeah, that's literally, that's it. Again, they get no sympathy. That's not even the worst part. Like, I mean, yeah, it is. Obviously it is, but later when I tell you guys like how their life turned out, at least for one of them, you will have like zero sympathy, zero. So yeah, okay, so as I said, Robert, he never cried. He kind of maintained this like very stoic attitude. And that made the police think like, oh, Robert was probably the ringleader. He was probably the one, like kind of, because John seemed very distressed. John seemed very like, you know, he was apologizing, he was crying, he was just acting like he was, you know, remorseful about it, or he was scared. Robert didn't cry, like he just remained very calm. And that's why the media and police thought like, oh, he was probably the leader. He was probably the mastermind, right? Like he's probably the evil one. And he dragged his friend into this. Later, we will find out the truth. So 9 months later, 9 months after James's murder, the trial began and crowds gathered outside the courthouse. This is actually a picture from one of those rallies, one of those like the crowds that surrounded the courthouse. And they were furious. People were furious. They were calling for severe punishments. You could hear shouts like, "Kill the bastards," and "A life for a life," emphasizing the collective disbelief and fury, because people were absolutely furious. They were like, how? Like, they don't deserve to, definitely they don't deserve to walk free. Like, they deserve the same fate as Jamie. He was just two. Like, this is just pure evil, and people were absolutely furious, raging. Inside the courthouse, the public watched as the two boys faced justice in an adult court. The demeanor of the boys during the trial only fueled public perception. John Venables was seen breaking down in tears on multiple occasions, while Robert Thompson remained, you know, maintained this like steely, almost emotionless front. The trial concluded with both John Venables and Robert Thompson being found guilty, making them the youngest convicted murderers in Britain in 250 years. So yeah, you would think like, oh great, you know, they were found guilty, they are gonna be in prison for the rest of their lives, whatever. Like, that's, you know, justice was served. They were very cruel to a little boy and they deserved to rot in prison. But they were sentenced to detention at Her Majesty's pleasure, which is a term for juvenile offenders that carried no fixed duration but required a minimum term to be set. And for John Venables and Robert Thompson, that minimum was 8 years. So they were essentially sentenced to 8 years in, well, not even prison, I guess juvenile detention center. During their time in custody, both boys reportedly showed no signs of violent behavior. They served their time quietly, drawing the focus back to a haunting question that I think lingered long after the trial. Why? Why did they commit such an atrocious crime? Because it wasn't really like ever explained. They just said like, yeah, boredom. Like, oh, that we don't know, but we were bored that day. Despite assessments, because you would think like, okay, they had to have had, you know, an assessment by medical professionals, right? Psychiatrists, and they are probably psychos or something, right? So they were definitely, you know, examined by a court-appointed psychiatrist. And he actually determined that both boys understood right from wrong, and they were not sociopaths. They were not psychopaths. They were not sociopaths. They were just normal boys. But for some reason, that day on February 12th, 1993, they turned into monsters. They decided to kill a toddler. And there was no clear motive for their actions that day. To this day, no one really knows. And then their term at the detention center ended. So it ended in 2001. They were there for 8 years. Venables and Thompson, now 18-year-old men, they were released. Their new identities, because they were granted anonymity. Well, anonymity, like they were granted new identities to kind of protect them after their sentence, because people of Liverpool were still, they were still furious. They did not agree with the sentence. Yes, they were released. 8 years later, they were released in 2001 with new identities. And they were granted like this, they were protected under the lifelong anonymity, a decision that I think remains one of the most controversial legacies of this case, because like I don't think they deserve anonymity at all. Jamie's mom, Denise Fergus, because they actually divorced, like she actually divorced the dad, like their relationship just didn't last, like they couldn't survive this. But she revealed that in 2004, she discovered where Robert Thompson was living under a new identity. But when faced, you know, when she had the opportunity to confront him, her emotions took over, and she described feeling paralyzed with hatred and unable to really confront this boy, or now a young man, who had once taken her son from her. Okay, so while Robert Thompson is believed to have assimilated back into society quietly and without incident, so Robert Thompson just, you know, took advantage of the granted anonymity, and he was just like, okay, you know, he reintegrated into society. He just lives his life quietly. No one knows where he is. John Venables, like his post-release story took a much darker turn. John's reintegration was troubled from the beginning, and it culminated in a shocking revelation in 2010. That year, John was arrested again for possessing and distributing images depicting severe SA involving young boys, so CP. So he was arrested for possession and distribution of CP. This crime struck a nerve again, you know, reigniting the fury, the public's fury and outcry, and, you know, like it reopened old wounds for not only James Bulger's family, but also for the community of Liverpool. Like, they were just like, what the fuck? You released him. You made this happen. You caused this. The justice system, like, there's no justice here. You released this monster back to the public with a new identity. He was protected, and what did he do? He started possessing and produce, right? Like, he started distributing CP. So what the fuck? So he was sick in the head. Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, it's like, that's the thing. Like, the psychiatrist determined, like, no, there's no mental, like, health issues. There's no, like, mental disorder there. Like, he's not a psychopath. He's not, you know, he doesn't have, like, bipolar. He doesn't have anything else. Like, there's just, yeah, he's just what he is. I guess PDF file. Okay, so Ralph, James's father, spoke publicly and made his feelings clear about this. He said that he could never forgive John Venables for the murder of his son, and also that he believed that John remained a danger to society, like he is not reintegrated. Despite many concerns about John's reintegration into society, he was granted parole again. Yes, after that arrest for CP. So he was granted parole again and released again on parole. And that didn't last long, because in November 2017, he was arrested again for possession and of more CP. Not only that, he had CP, and then he had also, like, files kind of outlining methods of abusing children. He had a manual, a kind of PDF file manual. Not like an actual PDF file, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and he was rearrested in 2017. And he was sentenced in 2017. This is, mind you, the third time he's arrested. One, you know, obviously, once for the murder. Second time, CP. Third time, CP. And after that third time, he was sentenced to 3 years and 4 months in prison. 3 years and 4 months in prison for repeated offense. Fucked up. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Gross, yeah. I hate the judge, and I hate those psychologists or psychiatrists. I hate that system. Like, I hate, yeah, like, who decided that? Who made this decision? Like, what? Prosecutor, where? Judge, where? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? 3 years and 4 months. This is not the first crime, right? Like, this is not even the first crime. Okay, it's still horrible. I would still feel like this is too short for, like, even first crime, but at least, like, okay, it's the first crime. You can kind of explain it. Like, okay, it's his first offense and he's young and we have some, you know, like, oh, the conditions. That's not even the first time. That's the third time that he's arrested for something absolutely despicable, and just 3 years. So in September 2023, John Venables once again made headlines. News broke that he would be granted a parole hearing in November. This is John. I guess I can just switch it to this one. So John would be granted parole hearing again in November. So that's a year ago, which again sparked a wave of outrage from the public, because people were just like, what are you doing? We don't want this person. This person should not be among people. Okay, the other one, he's living his life quietly. We've never heard of him like committing more crimes. But this guy, this kid, like, he's not rehabilitated. He hasn't changed. He's even worse. Like, what is he doing outside? Why is he even, like, granted this parole hearing? So once again, Jamie's family came forward. They voiced their unrelenting belief that John Venables should never be released, arguing that the crime he committed in 1993 and his, other offenses proved that he posed an ongoing threat, because he absolutely does. He absolutely does, and he did not rehabilitate. He is not rehabilitated, and I don't think he ever will be, so I don't think he should be allowed out. So James's parents had to endure numerous instances. This is like not even the worst part too. Because you would think like, okay, well, the most tragic and the hardest part for James's parents was the murder, which obviously it was, but like you would think like, okay, well, after the suspects were caught and after they were arrested, like, oh, that was the end of their struggle, the end of their horror. No, it wasn't. They suffered numerous instances of stalking and unsettling behavior towards them because of what happened to Jamie. Ralph and Denise eventually divorced in 1995, which I mentioned. Well, the tragedy was just too big and had, too much of an impact on their relationship. They both remarried and had new families. Denise, James's mom, had been subjected to relentless harassment over the years. One of the most harrowing incidents occurred in 2016 when a woman from Kent posted online as one of James's killers, and even she started posting as James's ghost. And she started sending vile messages to Denise, like just taunting her, saying, why didn't you take care of me? Why didn't you pay attention to me? Why did you let me be kidnapped? Why did you let me be murdered? So messed up. So the woman was she was arrested and she was sentenced to 3 years in prison. And this term was later reduced to 2.5 years on appeal. So whatever, I guess justice system out the window. And then there was the case of a man who, in 2016 again, like this is the same year, he was jailed for stalking Denise after having previously been warned by police for similar behavior in 2008. So he's done this before. They warned him and he didn't. He just like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna do it again. So he was just stalking Denise. I mean, these incidents, and there were more, but these and more incidents revealed this disturbing reality that for victims' families, the trauma does not end with the crime or even the trial or even like arrest, trial, sentence. It doesn't end. Instead, it is compounded by the actions of those who use the anonymity and the reach of the internet to perpetuate their fear and pain. And they hurt them even more. Intentionally. That's just absolutely vile. And that is it. That is the end of this case. And honestly, I think I've said everything. I don't think there's anything else I can say here. I don't think there's any way to describe how bad this case was and how horrible this crime was and how poorly it was handled. How horrible was it for the family? How horrible was it for Jamie? How unfair. How it just proved that, okay, well, I guess criminals are allowed to reoffend. I guess criminals are allowed to just walk out with a slap on the wrist, slap on the hand. Just gonna get, okay, 8 years for murder. It's sort of long, but not long enough for murder, for the kind of thing that they did. And then, well, I guess anyone can do CP in the UK, and then they're just gonna get 3 years, 3.5, and get released on parole. Doesn't matter, I guess. You okay, Sona? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I'm okay after this case. Like, I'm being honest right now. I don't think I'm okay. Because it really feels like, this case really feels like there was no justice. Justice was not served. Just no justice for Jamie, no justice for his family. Sending virtual hugs, thank you. Fuck man, my eyes are watering. I'm crying. I can't see. I can barely see the chat. Sorry. I'm trying to read it, but I can barely see the chat. Definitely no justice. No. This case crossed the line. It did. Okay. Let me change the music. I'm okay. I'm okay. Horrible or all around sorry fear. Yeah, it's not I gotta say, well, you know, up until this point I had cases. There were definitely cases that, you know, like I got emotional about, and it was hard to cover them. There were a couple that just enraged me, but this one, that's just yeah, like it wasn't even, I wasn't like, I'm shaking right now, but like now it's hard, but it was all around. Like every time I was going through writing my notes, doing research, writing my notes more, it's the same reaction. I'm sorry. Yeah, the worst part is that the kids did it. Yeah. Also, Joshua, thank you so much. It's okay, Sana, we're here with you. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here to listen and to discuss the case and to bring support. Bibs, welcome to the community. Yeah, I think this was one case that really crossed a line, or just yeah, it just affected me in a way I didn't expect it to, and I think I really need a break from true crime for the next week or two. But there will be cases, you know, just not true crime. I'm gonna focus on maybe something like cryptid files, some cryptids that I recently discovered, and I would love to talk about it. You know, love to cover them with you guys. So we're gonna definitely take a little break from true crime, because I don't think I can handle more right now. Because there are cases that are, you know, like are on my list, and there are cases that you guys suggested that are on my list of cases to cover, but I don't think, I can handle it right now. So get some rest, Sona, and stay safe, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much, Azure Void. Yeah, like, you know, obviously business as usual, as in there's still gonna be streams. I'm not going away. I'm not taking like a long break or anything. But yeah, you know, little bit of a break from true crime. We're gonna focus on something spooky, on something like cryptid, something like conspiracy stuff. For sure that's gonna help me a lot to kind of get back my sanity in check, you know, get my sanity in check. Thank you, Sona. Thank you, Archetype. I hate that there were so many chances to save him, but no, he wasn't. Yeah, that's another, just this case all around, but that's another let's say horrifying detail, because it is the fact that, like, I was reading through, you know, sources and like just this case at the beginning, the first time, and I'm reading it and I'm like, I know where this ends. I know where it ends, but every time I was reading about, like, okay, well, this person stopped them, you know, oh, there was this witness, this woman who stopped them and offered to take James to the police station, and I was just like, please just let it work, you know, like, oh, there's hope, let it work, let this work, even when I knew that how it ends. Love cryptids and the esoteric. Nice. Yeah, There's definitely gonna be some cryptid files, some cryptids next week. Here's some moth. Hey, baby mothman. Maybe we should watch kitten videos as a stream. Possibly. I'm considering. One of my VTubers who does true crime does Survivor Story months every year. Nice. Yeah, I might actually, you know, maybe that's a good idea too. Will you do the bunny IP? Oh, I don't know. Wait, do I think this was suggested before. I might have seen, because it rings a bell. I have to check it out. Yeah, I could picture it in my head, man. My stomach, I couldn't. Yeah, every time someone stopped them, I was just like, please let it work. Let it work. Let this boy just go to safety. Yeah. Try not to laugh challenge, Sona, Jesus Christ, or try not to cringe challenge. Let's torture ourselves even more with cringe stuff. Little Jamie, you deserve better. Rest in peace. R.I.P. Jamie, and at least, you know, as you know, it doesn't sound great, but at least he's not in pain anymore. Because that was just okay. I can't because I can't see my chat. My eyes are blurry because God. Lizard people. I have to do that. We gotta talk about lizard people. Maybe I should cover the lizard people conspiracy. That would be, I wanna, you know, I will welcome the opportunity to say lizard people many times during the stream. Okay, you guys, did I miss the whole case? Yes, you did, but honestly, I don't know if you want to listen to this one. I'm not sure if you want to hear this one, because not great, not an easy one to hear. Okay. You did, and if you're going to watch it, you'll need a strong drink. You will need a strong drink, a warm blanket, a hot beverage, probably a hug, everything else in between, everything comforting that you can think of, and it might not be enough. How did you know I was Reptile from Mortal Kombat? Hey, lizard people. What drink every time Sona says lizard people? I don't know, matcha latte. No, like, yeah, take a shot. Not a shot. Take a shot of a hot beverage or cold beverage or non-alcoholic beverage. Your favorite drink. You know what? Whatever drink you like. And take a shot whenever I say lizard people. Did I miss anything? Everything. The whole case. But just, you know. Here just in case. Flander. Scarlet. Scarlet. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. But thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And Sierra, thank you so much for being here. Yes, you did miss the whole case, but you know, I think maybe for your sanity, it's good that you did. But you can definitely listen to it. It's gonna be, you know, obviously I'm gonna leave the video up on my channel. It's just, yeah, it's just gonna be difficult. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Believe me, I am really thankful that you guys came here today to listen, to kind of be here with me, because it wasn't easy to talk about this, so I appreciate it. I would like to send special thanks to my channel members, to my Patreon members for supporting the channel, to my super chatters. Thank you so much, you guys, for supporting the channel and for being there for the true crime streams on Patreon, because I do weekly streams and bonus cases on Patreon every week. So yeah, you can check it out. What else? Yes, I'm gonna be shipping out the second batch of, the last batch of the desk mats, right, from October campaign. So I'm gonna be shipping out the rest of them today. And obviously, this week, the moment I get the address from Gunpuppy, the shipping information, I will be sending out the Halloween desk mat to Gunpuppy. Man, so lucky, super lucky. Congratulations again, Gunpuppy, for getting the Halloween desk mat. And it's a shame that, you know, Dark Angel couldn't, the other person couldn't get it, unfortunately, but I didn't get any communication in 7 days, so I didn't have an address, didn't get the address, which is okay, you know, maybe next time. I don't know what the nominations are, but I would like to pray that you all have no nightmares about this tonight. God bless you and keep you. God bless you too, and I hope you don't have nightmares too. You know, best of everything for you guys, and I hope you don't have nightmares about this. Okay, guys, thank you so much again. I'll see you on Wednesday. So I'll be back on Wednesday. We're gonna continue with spooky streams, something spooky, something maybe something chill next week, and yeah, some conspiracy, some cryptids for sure next week. So I'll see you guys on YouTube, and I'll see some of you guys on Patreon next week. So yeah, thank you again. Stay safe out there. Always lock your doors and windows. Bury your hexes. Take care, and until the next time. Bye. Joshua, thank you so much for the super. Have a nice rest, Sona, and take care, chat. I can share a fun fact with you, fun fact with you guys, because I just saw it on Twitter and I had to screenshot this. There was this guy, a Japanese husband, who has gone 20 years without speaking to his wife since she upset him. They had an argument 20 years ago, and he hasn't spoken to her since because he's so upset, and he is bros on another level of standing on business. He is gonna die on that hill. Like he might literally, if he continues not speaking to her, then yeah. Fun. Thank you so much, you guys. That's it for the fun facts. I'll see you next time. Take care.